Hey everyone, Disappointed Giant here. So welcome to another long play, or I should say welcome to the next episode of the Dead Cells podcast, where the videos are long and the rambling goes on for hours. So this is a lot. First of all, welcome. Thanks for tuning in and for checking out the run. This is a long play brutality run that was originally. I was originally doing this to showcase a few random items that Cloud Million and I were talking about over Discord, and I did some of that, but at the same time, I also incorporated something that Mr. J asked about in one of my recent videos about pairing Alucard's sword and Queen's Rapier. So the first half of the video gets pretty hectic. It's real. I think like. The prom that I get to, I take Promenade. I think it's like one of the best proms I've ever had. Like, there's a lot of really good stuff in the first half of this video. Second half of the video is just okay, and I think it's really interesting because the items that I use towards the second half of the video, I use Alucard's sword, Alucard's shield. So Alucard's sword is one of my favorite all-time items, and I think maybe because I was trying to pair it with Queen's Rapier and was trying to get like some different stuff going on, I ended up taking a bunch of hits in the Slumbering Sanctuary, and I feel like it took me a little bit to kind of like get back after that, you know. But either way, this was a really fun run. I picked up some stuff that I don't always use, which I feel like is a good vibe just in general. I kind of, even though I tell everyone to like try different stuff and to not kind of just get stuck in a pattern, you know, there's certain items that I love that I continue to pick up over and over. And here you'll see me consider Knife Dance, and then I say, wait, no, I take that. I use Knife Dance all the time. We gotta chuck it. We gotta recycle it. But yeah, I started taking few different things. So you'll notice here in my right skill slot, I have Holy Water. I don't often use Holy Water. For a while, I kind of just thought it was like a more dense but less powerful fire grenade, because when you throw Holy Water, I don't know if you can see there, it just kind of has like a little bit of an area of effect where the fire is, where a fire grenade will kind of do like a whole platform, has like a bigger reach. But something that I started doing, and you probably just saw that there, so when I threw the Holy Water, I kind of threw it up on the platform, right? So it was almost like a little like basketball type shot or whatever. I started, this is gonna sound a little weird, but hear me out. I started using Holy Water as a trap. So I started thinking about it less of like a way to spread fire and more as if I was going to drop like a cleaver. I end up getting a cleaver, pretty soon in the run, I think. So I start using both of those items like traps. And it actually did some really good work. There was a bunch of cool, like, I'm not going to say tech, it wasn't tech, but there was just like a bunch of really cool instances where I was able to use that Holy Water, get things burnt. I was really impressed with it. I was. So if anything, at least I'm walking out of this video with more of an appreciation for it. I think if I'm remembering correctly, when I did my tier list, it was not often, I think. Yeah, it was not the lowest. I didn't put it in the lowest tier, but I put it in the one above that. So it was in like the not often tier or whatever. But turns out it's pretty good. It's a pretty good thing. So, so right now, another item that I feel like folks don't use a lot of, I grabbed the Wrenching Whip out of the tubes. I wanted to, because I saw the Assault Shield, I saw the Holy Water, so I kind of wanted to lean in that direction. So grab the Wrenching Whip, and the way this works is it goes through shields, so it ignores shields, and it has three attacks where it pulls I think the first one pulls the enemy in, and then the next two, just do regular damage when the enemy's pulled in. So it's kind of cool, especially if you're going up against shield bearers or other enemies that have shields. It's pretty helpful. But again, super low key, right? When was the last time you used Wrenching Whip? When was the last time you took Wrenching Whip from the tubes all the way to Hand of the King, right? It's probably not recent, because I know I haven't done it either. And what do we got? Yep, so what I'm doing here, I know I've explained this a couple times, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, which I often do, but I grabbed that necklace because I want to go into Promenade with 2 stats in Brutality and then 2 in another stat, so that way there's a better chance to get an off color scroll. So if you go in you know, 3-1-3, 3-3-1. Again, two colors in your main, 2 colors in another stat, instead of trying to pump everything into one stat. So what you would do is you do what I do, right? You take the two scrolls, put them in your main stat, and then try to get the other 2 from an amulet. There's a better chance of getting a good dual scroll in this level, which is an extra 15% exponential boost, which makes a difference, you know, especially as the game goes on. Unfortunately, I did not get a good dual stat until later in the game, so the scroll manipulation didn't work, which is kind of rare. I just threw the holy water in the water. That's actually really funny. So it's kind of rare that it doesn't work, because I think there's 2 dual stat scrolls here in Promenade. So unfortunately, didn't work, but it's a tech that I do recommend trying if you are lucky enough to find a double off-color amulet in the prisoner's quarters. Something else I want to mention. So you've probably noticed that I'm moving very quickly as I go through. Like, I think not just running per se, but you'll see that when I have my assault shield up, I'm really hoofing it. I'm flying across the level. Yes, this is the first cleaver I grab. You'll notice that I'm like flying around the level, and the way, yeah, you see right there. What you do is, if you have, first of all, the assault shield's just like really good in general. But when you press the shield button and then immediately follow with the roll button, you will do that movement where you're kind of like fly off to the side. So you see I just use it there. I kind of jumped out of the building and then jumped back in using that tech. I love it a lot. It makes things go by much quicker as you're going through biomes. You're sacrificing a little bit of parry, what's the word, consistency or reliability or whatever it is for it, but I really do enjoy it. So that's part of why I wanted to grab that out of the tubes. The other part is I am a little, I guess self-conscious is the right word. I am a little bit self-conscious about the length of my videos, especially because, you know, I watch Daniel's videos all the time, and his videos are like super fast, and mine are like twice as long. So I'm like, hey, maybe if I take Assault Shield, I'll actually be able to get through the game a little bit more quickly than usual. But if you haven't tried out that Assault Shield tech, I do recommend checking it out. Okay, so here's one of the parts in Prom. After I finished this section, I was like, wow, that was tight. So you can see I'm kind of like really using my movement and positioning here to avoid the Bombardier's bombs there, to pull the failed experiments up. You know, I'm using my holy water. I'm using the cleaver down there to get extra bleed and poison. But that little section was a lot of fun. I was surprised. I looked at my kill counter. I thought I took a hit there, but I didn't. So that was one of the moments where I was like, damn, that was good. That was pretty good. I feel like there's a few moments like that in this video where I feel like it makes up for all of the nervous mistakes and all the deaths and everything that I have. I feel like stuff like that, I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. I kind of sometimes I know what I'm doing. So but otherwise, yeah, we just got ourselves kind of like a normal Prom here. Trying to get the 60. I'm at 51 right now, so doing everything I can to avoid damage. And this is a little tricky. So you can see the Bombardiers are really just like chucking their bombs all over the place. They're tricky. They're also in the clock tower, and I think those might be the two levels that they're in. I can't remember if and they're also in the infested shipwreck. I'm not sure if it's every BC, but they're in there too. But it's tricky, right? Because you have the initial Grenadier or Grenadier, however you pronounce it. They only throw the one bomb at you and that's it. But these guys, the Bombardiers, they will throw that original or that first pink bomb, and then there's 60. We got it. You throw the first pink bomb, and then after that it splits into 3, and like the spread kind of comes out. It's like a little baby cluster grenade almost, and it's tricky. It's tricky to kind of be mindful of, especially in the Prom, where you have, as you can see, we got exploding bats, we have protectors that are keeping enemies invincible as you're trying to attack them, and then there's a lot of positioning here. Like you'll see that he's going to chuck it down, maybe not, but you can see, like, yeah, they'll throw it up a level, they can throw it down a level, so it's not, even if you can't see them perfectly and you can't see them totally clearly, like, you're still in danger of those grenades like popping down at you. So Got to be careful. But that's in that original section that we just went through. That was part of why I was getting out as quickly as I could, because I did not want to take a hit from those while I was trying to juggle all the other stuff that was kind of flying around. Oop, almost almost hit the spikes there. So this run is very fresh in my mind. So right now it's whatever time it is. It's like 6 o'clock p.m. 1800 for you folks who use that time. But I recorded this, I think, like 3 or 4 hours ago. So this is fresh. I just did this. I kind of wanted to get it out while it was still clear in my mind. And you know, I've just been kind of vibing Dead Cells a little bit more recently this week. You know, I just recently put out that what's his name, the Concierge boss video. I've been writing a script for another video that I haven't talked about that is gonna be like maybe kind of funny. But yeah, I got some stuff going on, so I've been really in the mood. So I said, you know what, let me, instead of waiting days or whatever to get things going with this, I was like, let me just record it tonight. So I'm looking through the shop for some of the stuff that Cloud and I talked about. So I think it was, I don't have the list in front of me. It was like, you know, we were talking about Torch in the backpack, Pure Nail, what else? Alucard Shield, Twin Daggers, and then also Emergency Door and Crowbar. I didn't grab any of those because they didn't pop up, but I did decide to take the Abyssal Trident, which is another item that I don't use that often. And it's, I mean, you'll see. So I came into this run being like, well, I'm gonna, when I saw that in the shop, I was like, well, I'm gonna grab it. I'll use it for a little bit and then I'll switch it out. And I think I took it, I know I took it into Prison Depths. I think I also took it through most of the Ossuary, I think. But like, maybe I'm just having a good day. Maybe I haven't given this enough of a chance before, but like this thing was doing good work. It was doing really good work. So I grabbed melee before I bought this, obviously. I grabbed melee from the first mutation spot after the Prison Depths. Excuse me, Prisoner's Quarters. Grab melee. Just because I figured, all right, I get the Wrenching Whip. That first hit pulls enemies in, so I want them to not attack me as quickly so I can get an extra couple hits off. And coincidentally, the Trident works really well with melee. You can see that it's hitting enemies, and you'll see the hourglasses on top of their heads, like you can see those right there. So it's incurring the slow status on them, so their attacks are a little bit slower. And because the Trident hits so quickly, every hit does not. Every hit doesn't make an enemy slow, because I think there's at least a little bit of a cooldown on it, but it does it enough so that way it's really prominent. And I think I don't know if I reroll for this or if I have it now. I can't remember what it said in the shop, but there was I do get, I think, plus 30 to slowed targets on it. So another thing, and I learned this while I was playing here, you just kind of saw me using the Trident on the ground. You don't have to face the same way, and there's a little bit of a pause between once you swing and then once you start charging. So you may have noticed I kind of like swung to the left, waited a half a second, and then charged to the right, and vice versa. I was just practicing a little bit of that sort of tech because I haven't, like I said, I haven't used this a ton. So I wanted to just be more comfortable with it, so that way when stuff comes up, I don't have to really think about it. I think my first hit, yep. I was like, I remember I had like a 115 streak, and I ended up taking damage here. So I don't have an extra jump on my necklace, but there's this thing in the game that the slang for it is coyote time. And what it means is that as you drop off a cliff, there's a split second where you're still able to jump. It might be like a quarter of a second or 30% of a second, whatever it is. When you're in a challenge room like I had, right? So you have those long breaks with the spike pits, and there's, it basically looks like you need to have a triple or a double jump. If you walk off the edge and then jump while you're just in the air, you'll be able to clear that. So if you want to pause and go back for a second, it was like a minute ago or whatever, you'll see me do that. And that's basically the best way to get through those areas if you do not have 1 or 2 extra jumps. It's tricky, it's not easy, but it is doable, because I feel like those long pits are the bane of a lot of people's challenge rift experiences. they're easier to do when they're descending, right? So I think the one that I just did like went up a tile or two, but they're easier to do as if you jump across. They're, you know, going down a tile or two with each time. So, but you can do it either way. You can do it either way. So put that in your toolkit in case you end up stuck in a challenge rift without an extra jump. All right. So I also while I was blabbering there, I grabbed the iron staff. So I mentioned the Alucard's shield earlier, and iron staff works very similar. Side note: if you ever see this little room, there's always a necklace in here. The iron staff, I actually don't use it, but I do use Alucard shield. But the iron staff is a melee weapon that can parry. So basically what you would do is, as an attack is incoming, a melee attack is incoming, you press the attack button, and it comes up like a shield. It'll parry the attack, and then the next 2 attacks that you have directly afterwards from that are going to be critical. And that's basically the exact same thing that the Alucard shield does. So I figured, I was like, well, if I can't find the A shield, I'll just see if I can use the iron staff. But I ended up grabbing one of those and did not use the iron staff, but put it in my backpack just in case. So the iron staff comes from the Fatal Falls DLC. So if you've gone through the Fractured Shrine, there's those big stone wardens, I think they're called. They're the stone enemies that animate in front of those really big doors. That is a 100% drop from them. So if you have not gotten a blueprint in Fractured Shrines yet and you're playing through it and you don't have iron staff, it's probably going to drop. Yeah, so it's interesting because that's like the first item that you would see from that DLC, and it's not something that a lot of folks use. But I remember Raziel had a dope video where he parried the hell out of Conjunct with it. I think it was a flawless Conjunct fight. It was insane, super good. But high skill ceiling, but it's interesting. But like I said, basically the Alucard shield as a weapon, just as the Alucard shield is basically iron staff but a shield. All right, so what am I doing here? So I'm going back for a shop. I think what skill am I looking for? I think I'm looking for Serenade. I'm pretty sure Serenade, because Serenade was on the list. I'm pretty sure this is where I grab Serenade, which is, yep, I do. Which does some work, and I actually learned a couple of things about Serenade in the next biome that I was not aware of, which is cool, which is super cool. So we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that in a little bit after I hit the prison depths. But grab the Serenade. I explained it a bit. Well, I tried to explain it when I went through my DLC video, but I purposely used it here. I think I take it all the way through the first boss, so that way there's enough time so you folks can check it out, so that way I can talk about it, because it is a very complicated it's a very complicated weapon. Triple necklace, let's go. I think I take that all the way through to the end. But Serenade's super complicated. It's a very complicated skill, and as I use it, we'll talk more about it. I don't want to front load it too much, but I did have that on the list of stuff to find and check out. So I was lucky enough to find it in the prom, nice and early, and then we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna take it with us for at least another couple biomes. So right here, I'm just checking. Yeah, so I don't have the slowed yet. I think I roll once or twice. Yeah, so as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, good, we get some extra stuff, because I was considering taking open wounds as my second mutation, both because the Trident will proc bleed, pops pretty quickly, but also it had 60% to poison. So I said, let's give that a shot, but I chose not to, since I got the 30% on slowed. I think I stand here for a minute. Yep. So Slava, I was joking with Slava about bank footage and other stuff, and I was like, do I want to go to the bank? And the bank is one of the biggest levels. It takes me like 20 minutes to get through, and I was like, I'm positive this video is going to be long, so we don't need another 2-hour video where I slog through the bank. So I chose not to go, but I did think about it. So here's Serenade. So you pop it out, and as you can see, it's It flies around. So if you've played Symphony of the Night, it's basically an homage to the sword familiar from there, but it will fly around and it will attack enemies. And here's where I'm pausing for a second, because I did not realize that Serenade will not aggro enemies. So though the enemies that I just killed right there, I was cursed and nothing happened. So I'm sitting here saying, all right, well, let me see what else I can do. So I bring Serenade back out, and look, it's going after the knife throw, and I pause here, and it goes after the knife throw. It goes after the Rampager, and then the Rampager aggroed because the enemy burned when it died. It didn't aggro because of Serenade. So that's something I learned. So if you haven't used Serenade, or if you have it in your kit and you're cursed, you can do what I just did, right? For the most part, you can just chill out. Again, if there's any sort of damage over time that happens, you know, like if biters drop from the enemies, or like what just happened there, enemies burn when they die, or if there's poison cloud or something like that, they will aggro, but just in general, they don't. So that was pretty sweet. Dug it. So, all right, so let's talk about Serenade. So I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to try to do it better. So, like I mentioned, you know, it's like an homage to the Symphony of the Night sword familiar. It's going to swing around you. Unfortunately, it constantly talks. So you'll see that the red text popping up all the time. That's if Serenade didn't have that, I would be much more inclined to use it more often, because it is incredibly powerful. But like the text gets a little busy. But as it flies around, what you'll see is on top of the enemies, there's going to be a red status effect. So it's going to look, you know, similar like where you'd see the bleed or the flame or, you know, poison tick or whatever it is. You will see a red sword icon. So whenever Serenade is flying around, there it is. All right, you can see it there quickly. Whenever Serenade is flying around, it's going to hit the enemy, and it's going to put one of those ticks on there. If you press the button again, so you can see right now, I have Serenade both in my left skill slot and it was in my left item slot. If you press the skill button, the Serenade stops flying around. It comes into your hand, and then from there, if you hit an enemy, it will have a blue mark on top of it. The gimmick here is that blue, when you have the sword in your hand, it does crits on enemies that are marked red, so you can see those crits there. And when the sword is out, it will do crits on enemies that have the blue mark. So basically, you're consistently trying to micromanage all of this stuff. You're trying to micromanage, you know, how you're balancing your crits. Whatever slot Serenade is in, when you activate it, it takes that slot over. So you'll see, as I'm using it, it keeps popping into my left slot. So the Trident, like right there, the Trident disappears. If I had it in the right skill slot, so if the Serenade and the Cleaver were switched, if the Serenade and the Cleaver were switched, what would happen is when I'd activate it, it would go into my shield slot. So there's I like how there's choice that way. So that way you can kind of move your build around depending on what you have and how you choose to use your items. You know, I have two of my close friends, Adam and Ian. They play. I mean, we've all been playing Dead Cells. They started playing Dead Cells before I did, so they got into it pretty soon after release, and they parry with a shield on the left. So if they were using Serenade, either of those dudes were using it, they would probably put it in the right slot, so that way when they activate it, the shield on the left would still be active. So there's a little bit of customization, or whatever word you want to use there, a little bit of freedom, but that's like the basics of Serenade. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna keep it with me through the first boss. So we'll see some more Serenade usages as time goes on. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. So and you also get that in the Fractured Shrines. There's a lore room that you can find at the end of the level. If you notice, when you get all the way to the right-hand side on one of the platforms, you may see the rain hitting an invisible platform. Like you can see the rain actually stopping. If you grab that, you can jump all the way to the right, and you end up in a low room behind one of those stone wardens, and Serenade comes out and starts talking and never shuts up for the rest of existence. It's just like, dude, nobody cares, man. Nobody cares. The other thing, and you know what, I'll actually talk about the timer after I get out of this challenge rift. So, but there's another factor to Serenade that we'll get into in the Ossuary, which is the next bio that I take here. So that was a decently clean prisoner's quarters. I just switched them again. Prison depths. But you'll see, so you can see that my kill counter is gray. My God, dude. Is it green? Is it gray? Or is it gold? You'll see that my kill counter is gold. So I got 60 in here, even though there's no 60 door. So that was pretty sick. It was a great prison depths until I hit the challenge rift and I took some damage. I think I was, as you can see, I'm down to 64% here. I'm thinking about the Tonfus here. So I've used this before. It's a really fun item, but I decided to not take it because I sort of wanted to try to keep focus on the stuff that I was originally planning on doing, like the stuff that I mentioned, and then the, I ended up getting a Queen's Rapier and Alucard Sword, so I wanted to try that idea out a little bit too. But yeah, I decided to not take the Bladed Tonfus. I like that a lot. It's a very another movement specific item. You'll notice if you use it, the first button kind of zips you across about a quarter of the screen. And if you connect a hit with an enemy, the next 3 hits, and within like, a second or a second and a half or whatever it is, those next 3 hits will do crits. Similar to the tech, I keep saying tech, it's not the right word, but whatever. Similar to the tech with the Trident, where basically you can... real quick, I grabbed No Mercy because I have Toxic Cloud on the cleaver, so I figured I'd get some decent dot and enemies would pop at 15% health. Similar to the Abyssal Trident, if your first attack goes in one direction, you can face the other direction, so you're not locked. So if you're on the left and you attack to the right, you can turn around to face the left as you're flying to the right. So there's a little bit of cool tech that you can use there. But I just chose not to take it because I wanted to continue with the Trident because it was doing really good work. I think having melee and the plus 30 to slowed was super helpful too. But yeah, it was doing good work, so I didn't want to change it up too much. So I decided to keep that. And the other thing too is I wanted to continue to use Serenade, so I chose to recycle that bad boy and keep what I got. And I think at this point I was considering going Concierge and using the Iron Staff, but I don't take the Iron Staff with me. So, all right, so let's get back to Serenade. So Serenade Part 2. So if you look in the skill slot now, the Serenade is timing, it's counting down, right? Which 17, 16, 15. So Serenade can only stay out in its sword form as it's flying around for 30 seconds. If you kill an enemy, I think it's if you kill an enemy with a crit on the sword. I think I do it right here. Yeah, so if you hit an enemy or kill an enemy with a crit on the sword, the timer resets. So that's kind of part of the game, right? So it's not just you're flipping back and forth between, using your normal weapon while the Serenade's flying around and then putting the Serenade in your hand. You're also trying to be mindful of that timer. So as the timer ticks down, if it hits 0, there's a 30-second, I think it's a 30-second cooldown where you just can't use Serenade at all. So if you do use Serenade, you want to keep an eye on that and make sure that you keep the crits back and forth between the ranged and the melee attack, so that way you can keep on using it, keep it rolling. That is not a cup of tea, in case anyone. I feel like a few people have been like, "What are you drinking, man?" I have been on a personal note. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the channel. But I've been sober for almost 7 years. June of 2018. Challenge rift, let's go. But every once in a while, I like to drink a non-alcoholic beer. So that's what I have in my glass right here. Got a non-alcoholic beer that I've been sipping on. So that's what that noise is if you hear me wetting the old whistle, as they say. So anyways, grab the challenge rift there. So that's the third rift that we've gotten so far in this run. So we got one in the prom, got one in the prison depths, and then we got a third one here in the ossuary. So even though my dual stat scrolls have not been great, the fact that we got 3 rifts, we're getting 3 extra brutality scrolls by the end of the run, like it's pretty decent. It's not bad. So yeah, and I get like, I think I get 3 good drops here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I get Kill Rhythm later in this. But yeah, I got the legendary what was it? The legendary something armor from the knife thrower. And then I just got flamethrower chart from the shocker there. So that was unexpected. Pretty sweet. But yeah, I got like 3 rare drops within a few biomes here. So this was good. This was a fun run. This was really good. So what I'm doing here, so I'm starting to kind of poke around. So the Ossuary, it's huge. If you haven't been here, or if you haven't spent a lot of time here, it's giant. On 5BC, 4 and 5BC, you know, the levels get longer. The amount of traversal that is required to be in the Ossuary, there's so many long passageways, and as you're going down those passageways, the malaise ticks up pretty easily. So I don't know if I'm going to show the map again. I don't think we've hit any of those yet, but as you get further down in the level, they're all over the place. So what I'm doing here is I'm preparing to actually explore more of the level sort of out of order, right? So you folks notice, or if you've watched me play before, you know I like to do full clears, and I have like a systematic way that I like to go through the level so that way I don't forget anything. So this is outside of my normal, generally like normal way I play a level, but what I'm doing here is I know that there's a curse. I know there's 100% chance for a curse chest in here. But one of the things that can happen easily in the Ossuary is because you're walking around so much and the map's kind of sprawled out, you might find the curse chest, and I do find it in like a very remote location. You may find the curse chest super far away, and then by the end of the level, you have no more enemies to kill, and you're saying, all right, well, what do I do? Do I take the curse and risk it, or do I leave the curse behind and miss out on the scroll? So what I'm doing here is I'm hunting for the curse. So what you'll see me doing is I'm going to be navigating through as many areas as I can without killing all of the enemies. So that way, no matter what happens, I will still have at least 10 enemies on the map. Again, and then there's also, I think it's a 10% chance for a double curse. So like you'll see me playing like Daniel, just running around and not killing everything, just zipping around. But I'm trying to find that curse. Elevator kill. Yep. Trying to find that curse so that way I will have plenty of enemies to clear it out, so I can get that extra scroll and not have to worry about taking it into the boss. As a we'll save it for when I get there. So I've already cleared out a decent amount, but again, you'll see me just kind of zipping around. Still using the Serenade. I haven't really been paying attention to how much I've been using the Trident, but just kind of zipping back and forth between the two, and of course throwing down that cleaver whenever I can, just to get a little bit of extra damage. And what's interesting too, so I love Toxic Cloud on traps. It's one of my favorite affixes in the entire game. It's great in general. But like if you get it on Barnacle, it's great because Barnacle crits on poison targets. But the Toxic Cloud is not exclusive to the 80% damage to poison, which means you can get a trap that has both, generates a Toxic Cloud and does 80% to poison. And I think I get one on the cleaver, but I can't remember specifically if it's here or if it's in a later level. I'm not sure. But you can get that, which is great. So what I do is you'll see me throw the cleaver down and then book it. So I've done that a handful of times so far. I'll just drop it down, keep running, and what happens is when you have a trap, like you see there, I just dropped it down and I kept running. There's an activation range for it. So when you're near the trap, you'll see almost like a little, it's like a little string of, it almost looks like lightning. I don't know how to describe it. It's like little lines or whatever it is, I guess is a better way to put it. And when you are close to the trap, that shows the activation. Yeah, you can kind of see it right on the left of the bottom there. It's like it's a line that connects you to the trap. So when that is there, the trap is active. If it is not there, you've moved too far away from the trap and it is no longer going to work, right? So if you have the double crossbow-matic, if you move too far away from it, it will stop shooting. I'm not 100% positive if the cleaver's bleed stops when you move away from it, but I am positive that the Toxic Cloud will be there no matter what. So what I'm doing is I'm dropping the trap down. As I'm close to it, it's getting a little bit of bleed damage. The poison cloud hits, and then I'm running away from it. Yeah, my malaise is way too high. I'm running away from it, and the toxic cloud is still affecting enemies. And because I have no mercy, it's going to be picking them off a little bit quicker. I know, you know, some people think no mercy is a little but with Dot, I like it. I like it a lot. Another thing I like a lot is quad damage, quad damage items. I looked at this and I was like, we do not need Iron Staff. I'm like, get out of here. We don't need it. I don't end up using it, spoiler. But like I saw that and I was like, man, that is too good to pass up. So yeah, so you can see here, look at how long that hallway is. And this is actually a really interesting generation, because you can kind of see right on the left-hand side of the screen right now, up at the top right now where the Malaise food is. That's like kind of a long hallway, but it looks like, look at that, the bottom right of the map. Like it looks like all of the long hallways generated side by side by side. And of course, that's where the curse is. So, and now because I have the flamethrower turret, because I've really been enjoying this run and I've been playing pretty decently, I'm taking this curse super safe, right? So I have Serenade. It's going through. I have the cleaver that I can toss down, so that way I do have options without needing to directly engage with the enemies with what do you call it, with the trident. That's a little risky in general with curse stuff, but and then I think I come down here and I nope right out. Yep, I'm not getting near that. I'm not getting near the shocker. But I am paying attention to the game sounds, and just then a demolisher, I can hear something teleporting, so I decided to stop, let the enemy come to me, and then that was terrifying when that happened. My God, like that zombie came out and that scared the crap out of me while I was playing. But I let the demolisher teleport to me, killed it, got an extra kill, saw that Inquisitor, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I threw the trap down and I missed, but I was lucky enough to pull that enemy, the Malaise enemy, up to get my last kill. And then of course, as soon as the curse is over, I just start playing normally again, because there's no risk. There's no risk anymore, right? So I think I'm pretty sure I also do a full clear here. I swear I don't play slowly so my videos are longer. I play slowly because I just need to make sure I clear as much as I can, because you never know when something's going to drop extra gold or an item or something like that. And it's just in my opinion, it's a good habit to have, so that way, you know, you can be mindful of clearing everything out and getting yourself a little bit closer to that kill door if you're kind of in that range, you know. But yeah, so you can see here, so there's like little pockets of enemies. There's where that shocker was, which I'm going to go now. There's another little pocket down and to the right, and that's again, that's like another set of enemies that I chose to ignore. That elite lasted for a second. That was very quick. The cleaver, so you can see the cleaver takes up that whole tile set right there. So the enemy had those protective diamonds or whatever you call them. What are they called? Not conduit. I can't think of the word, but anyways, whatever they were, the cleaver was big enough to do damage to them, and then the elite just melted between poison, the bleed, and then no mercy. So that was like a really quick, nice elite kill. Speaking of 60 doors, something you want to be aware of is those little buggers, the little corpse juices. So the little yellow bug looking things that come out of the spawners, the test tubes that are spitting those things out. They don't count towards your kill count. They don't count towards reducing a curse, but they do show up on the map. So you may be in a point where you go to look at the curse and you count the skulls and you're like, all right, there's 12. There's 12 enemies here. I can clear it. But if 2 of those are spawners and 6 of those are corpse juice, like, you are not going to have enough to clear the curse. So just be wary of that. Just in case. That's happened to me before, because I've done that. I'm like, oh my God, I have exactly 10 enemies on the map. This is great. And then I realize I can only really clear like 4 stacks of curse, and I'm going into Concierge with like broadsword, and I'm just done. I'm like done. Yeah, so just be careful of that. So, and then there's other ones too. I think like the bugs that spawn from that graveyard zombie that popped up, those don't count for a kill. You know, a lot of like the little ads like that, they don't count. So be careful about that. Another thing, so you noticed, oh, this is cool footwork. I remember this. That was sweet. You notice that I waited until the very end to hit the challenge rift. So I do that. Usually I do that for two reasons. The first is so that way, if I do not have 60 kills, I can ensure that if I take a hit in the rift, it's not going to affect my kill count. So if I do it at the end of the level, I will know whether I have 60 or not. So it doesn't matter if I take a hit. The second thing is that if you take a challenge rift after Explorer's Instinct pops, you will be able to see the entire challenge rift map, both in the bottom right-hand corner and when you go to the map screen. So it's a little helpful in case you're trying to see which direction you're going in, if you know the geometry of the levels to find out what rooms you're going to be going through. So here I'm thinking, I'm like, it's kind of similar. I don't end up taking this one. But what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for a face flask. So I decide, I break tradition here. I actually take a route that I usually don't take front to back here. But I'm going to fight death. And I often take face flask in there with me, for regardless of what color I'm on, because almost all the time, Face Flask has an affix that says electrocutes nearby enemies for 8 seconds. That will kill Death's sights, the little ones that are spinning around, so it makes it much easier to beat and get a flawless. So here's where I spend way too much money. So I buy the Pyranil, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to use this. But then I see the Queen's Rapier, and I'm like, well, hold on a second. Maybe I can do that build where I used Alucard's sword and the Queen's Rapier, but then I'm like, yeah, I don't know, right? So I'm kind of like poking around here, not making good decisions. I think at this point I was like, where did my Pyranil go? And then of course Alucard's sword pops up. So I said, all right, let's do it. So I buy the Pyranil, I waste like $6,000 or whatever it is, and now I'm going to recycle it. So Pyranil was one of the items on the list. I do find it as a legendary. I think it's after the second boss fight, I want to say, so I do kind of swipe around with it so I can demonstrate its movement. But I was like, all right, let's give this a shot. So unfortunately, I did not get a face flask in the shop, but I'm saying to myself, hey, I got 60. Maybe there's going to be a face flask in the 60 door. But if you go to death from the ossuary and you have 60 kills, there is no 60 door. So only Concierge has the 60, which is, yeah, I don't love it. It's kind of lame. It's super lame. It's not kind of lame. It's super lame. But on the other side of it is if you get 60 kills in, I think Corrupted Prison is the one. If you get 60 kills in Corrupted Prison and then go to Dracula's castle, there is a 60 door there. So you kind of like get it on one end, but you lose it on the other. So it's pretty strange. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get face flask, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. It's like, you gotta be kidding me, man. So the two things I like to take into death fight. So one of them is face flask for that electrocutes nearby enemies affix. And then the second thing is I like to take armadillo pack. And death in general, it's not, I don't want to say it's not a hard boss. Death in general is a very predictable pattern based boss. Can be, some of the stuff is tricky, but it's one of those things, if you watch and you know how much damage you're doing and where death is on the screen, like sort of like what's coming up. There are two attacks that drive me nuts. They drive me insane. So the first one is the sights, where the face flask will take care of it. And then the second thing is death has these projectiles that he shoots at you. With Armadillo Pack, you can roll through the projectiles. So right here, the sides are coming out, and Serenade actually takes care of them. And I take a hit. I take a hit because I'm watching for Serenade to clear the projectiles, and then I get hit. I get hit by the other stuff, and that's kind of like the vibe here. You'll see that I'm not really engaging with that much, because I'm letting Serenade get rid of those projectiles. Armadillo Pack is great because it will roll through the orbs that he shoots out at you, so I like that a lot. So I take those two if I'm trying to get a flawless in here. If you're just trying to like do good work, you don't need to take those. But if you are trying to get a flawless fight, either for the outfit or for the legendary, I do recommend taking the both of those because they're super helpful. Super helpful. So there we go. So that's our first. Is it our first death fight? I think it's the second. I think it's our second death fight on the channel. But there it is. So I can change. I can make changes in my my normal gameplay patterns, right? Oh boy, so yeah, that fight was okay. Again, like this is I do not have the flawless outfit on this particular file, so I was gunning for it, but didn't grab it. Didn't grab it, unfortunately. So, all right, so I chucked Serenade. It served us very well. You know, the Prison Depths and Ossuary did some great work. Helped with the curses. Helped with Death Sides. So, pretty stoked about that. But decided it was time to move on and grab that flamethrower turret that I just got the blueprint for. I re-roll. We got ourselves oil that burns, and then the Queen's Rapier spreads oil and does 100% to a burning target. So even if the trap does not get destroyed and the oil doesn't spread, if an enemy's on fire and the Queen's Rapier hits it, the second hit is going to do double damage, which is great because the first hit needs to proc the burning oil, and the second and third and whatever can take advantage of it. So here I'm thinking, I usually go Stilt Village when I am in a position to try to speed through a run. I generally go Graveyard if I'm sort of going the Cavern route, but I don't remember the last time I went Slumbering, so I decided to go here. I said, let's do it. Let's give it a whirl. And I think this is where the video cuts to. I recorded this in 2 segments because PS5 can only do an hour's worth of video. Yeah, there's the cut. So I decided to go to Sanctuary, and this is the build, right? So we're starting to mess around with this idea of, all right, so if we use the Alucard sword to teleport, melee is going to slow the enemy, and then can I also get additional hits from Queen's Rapier? It's just kind of like a cool thought, the cool idea for a build. So I said, yeah, let's just give it a shot. Part of it is because I liked the idea. The other part of it is, some of you folks know, like my memory sometimes is not great because I commit to a bunch of stuff and then I forget all the stuff I said I would do. So I'm like, let me do this now. Let me do this now before 5 months goes by and then I wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh no, I didn't make that video, you know? So, but that's what we're rolling with here. So we got double turrets. I took support for the additional damage bonus, and even though I'm not going tactics, I think it's like a 36 or 37% boost, which is nothing to sneeze at this point. So yeah, so we got double turrets, double swords, and again, I mentioned the Sanctuary doesn't go great. You know, I think I drank 2 flasks in here just because I wasn't really used to this. And then what happened is, like, I'm sure this happens to some of you folks out there too, but like, I'll take a hit and then like I get knocked off my game. And it takes me like a biome or 2 to like settle back in, and that's definitely what happened here. This was rough. This was like the opposite of Promenade. This was not good. This is not a good biome. But what is good is I got the curse early here, so I know where it is. Again, just like the Ossuary, we have a 10% chance for an extra curse here, but I only got 1 this time. But get it early, and what I did was I chose to go up and check out the next room because there's only one direction I can go. The path to the left is a dead end with the chest. The path to the right here that you can kind of see in the bottom right, that's like grayed out, that is to the next section. So I had to come up here and I wanted to look around, and I found an elite. So that's something that I do recommend doing if you're able to. Just see if you can kind of poke around before you take a curse to see what you're up against, so that way you don't take a curse and then end up facing an elite golem with an inquisitor right next to it. Like, you don't want that stuff, you know. Yeah, it was tough. But yeah, I was just gonna say something. I feel like when I was playing, I remembered that section being much more stressful than it looked. I remember throwing the traps down and facing the wrong direction and thinking I was going to lose a run, but I didn't. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to throw the traps down. I'm going to try to aggro the elite. I can't, so I'm going to break the diamonds. I wait for it to come down and it doesn't, and then we play this little game of cat and mouse here. What's great is the cleaver is still on the side. Yeah, and you can see that it activated when I got close to it. Cleaver's still on the side. So as I moved back in that direction, it reactivated and took the elite out. So, and again, I'm playing this curse similarly to the Ossuary, kind of taking my time. I'm going to wait, I think, for these 2 enemies to line up and not be facing me. I'm going to double jump up, throw down the traps, duck, and then boom, curse is lifted. So, and then I immediately take a hit. I immediately take a hit as soon as the curse is lifted, right? That was perfect. But yeah, and that's the other thing too is, sometimes, like, if you've seen my videos or long plays or whatever, sometimes I take a curse and I'm zipping. It's like I'm on fast forward. Other times I'll take a curse and I will be so, what's the word I'm looking for? I will be so cautious and I'll be almost like afraid because I don't want to lose the run. And that's what I've been doing these past 2 times. The other thing that I should have mentioned, I didn't realize this, or I forgot about this, I should say, when I was first talking. So part of the reason why I get slammed around here is because I took melee, and it's only because of the golems. So when you attack the golems and they slow down, like, they're obviously like every enemy. I think it might happen here. Let's see if I get hit by this guy too. No, I don't. But every enemy will slow down. But for him, for some reason, the delay in timing, it caused me such a problem. I think I got hit by him. I don't know, I took like 4 or 5 golem hits or something like that, and they hit hard. They're not like little 10%, 11% hits. Like they chunk you for like 30%, 50% of your health or whatever. I mean, we'll see it. It's gonna happen again. We can we can all count together. It takes a lot. It takes a lot out of there. So that was melee is what threw me off, and then myself is what threw me off after that. Like I said, I was just in my own head, and I couldn't really lock back in for the rest of this biome. And drinking 2 flasks back to back, that doesn't feel great. It's better than, does it happen here? No, it's better than losing a run. It's better than losing a run with 4 flasks, but it doesn't feel great to have to drink twice in a row. But if you got to do it, you got to do it, right? And then here, yeah, I think this is my first chug. I'm like, I'm not even gonna risk it. So we're down 1 flask, 84% health, so not at full. In case, I'm pretty sure most of you folks will know this, but flasks will restore 60% of your health, not 100%. So if you're at 40% or below and you're getting a little antsy and a little anxious about how your run's going, you can always drink. I would also be mindful of keeping track of any food. So if you haven't gotten any food yet, maybe hold off a bit. But if you're if you are below 40%, that health flask will not be wasted. So, and I think this is the cleaver. Did I go back and look at it? I did. I saw the green text twice, and I was like, oh yes, there we go. So now we get a higher level cleaver, toxic cloud, extra damage to poison, and we got it. I'm pretty sure I take that trap to the end of the game, which is good, super good. I love cleaver. I love cleaver in general, but getting the synergy like this is it's beautiful. You can also, here it is, right? Yep, there it is. So you can see I rolled a little early. I jump up here to try to gather myself. But yeah, this is I was actually thinking of Modesto a lot when I was playing here, because he does not like melee for that reason. So I was thinking about him, like, yeah, I get it. Sometimes I get it, man. It's not always good. So I could have chosen better. I think maybe I think combo would have probably been a better. I think I get hit again here by the demon, right? Yeah, I think combo would have been a better choice than melee. I was thinking, I was trying to think too big brain, being like, oh well, if the first hit slows the enemy and then the Queen's Rapier comes in and it staggers and blah blah blah. I should have just taken combo. You know what? I should have taken combo or predator, and that would have been a huge difference. So let's consider this another learning moment, right? Where there are things that you can do that are suboptimal, and then there are things that you can do that are not great. Right? So me choosing melee was not just suboptimal, it was not great. Especially in the light, like I said, in the light of either taking combo or predator, anything, even open wounds to get extra bleed from, if you get an enemy on the cleaver, get some extra stacks. Like there were better options, but you can't change mutations in the middle of the level, obviously. So, and I think I get rocked here. Yeah, I get bounced around by that elite, that elite's laser. Came out quick, and there you go. There's my second heal. So the other part too is I'm already, instead of being in the moment here, I'm already thinking, all right, I got 2 flasks down. We have at least 2 more biomes and 2 more bosses to go. And I'm starting to plan out food shops and this and that. And I'm like, well, there's no food shops in non-DLC areas from here on out, so, or non-5EC endgame areas, so I'm just like, oh man, what am I going to do, right? So things do work out, don't worry about it. I promise you this is not a failed run like a handful of the other ones, but I'm already too much in my own head, trying to plan things out, looking at my gold, you know, because I'm at 20k. I already bought all that stuff that I recycled and so on and so forth. So, and of course I'm like, oh, what's in the shop? Let me let me spend some more money. Let me see what else is here. I don't know if I buy anything. Oh, this is when I switch. Yep. So I grabbed Alucard Shield here because it was an item that I wanted to use, but also if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a special outline around the sword and the shield. If you have both Alucard Sword and Alucard Shield at the same time, it does this thing between swings where it'll like automatically parry attacks. Like it's really interesting. But like, yeah, you'll see it there. So after that first or second hit, the sword comes up. So there's actually a way to automatically parry, which is really cool. So the legendary version will drop. If you pick it up, it will give you the other. So if you get like a legendary Alucard sword, if you pick up the legendary, it will drop the legendary shield. So you can then kind of pair them up and do it like that. But I just made the combo myself through the just by buying the shield. So, and I'm pretty sure I roll with that until the end of the game. This might be, I know I recycled the Assault Shield, but this might be the build as far as items go for the rest of the game. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it is. But yeah, so we grabbed the Alucard Shield. Like I mentioned before, it's very similar to the Iron Staff. When you parry with it, it does a critical hit. And then the next, if you press the shield 2 more times, it will do 2 more attacks. They're like melee attacks, and those also do critical hits. The cool thing about Alucard Shield is there's a little bit of a cooldown. It might be like half a second or 3/4 of a second or like whatever it is, but you have some time between the first parry and the next hit, so you can space things out a little bit. Excuse me. So you'll see at some point I will like parry an enemy, and then I will like drop off a platform and then use the other 2 attacks to attack another enemy or something like that. We'll see it a little bit here. And then I think, do I change anything here? Yeah, so I grab the, I re-roll the Flamethrower Tart and I get an extra 60% on Bleeding Target. So we get a little bit extra damage here. So I'm going to the Clock Tower. So I haven't been to Clock Tower on video or whatever in a play. I haven't been to Clock Tower in a while. So I said, let's do it up. Let's switch things up a bit. So I take Masochist pretty much, you know, regularly when I go to the Clock Tower, because there are so many of those spiked ball mace traps that are just all around the level. I will find myself climbing a ladder and then I get hit by a trap. I'll jump off a platform and I'll get hit by a trap. So the visibility of them is very last minute. So I grab Masochist just in case. You know, like I said, I'm already down 2 flasks. I don't want to take too much damage, and since Masochist will cap any trap damage at 10%, that will ensure that I have plenty of hits before I need to drink, if I need to drink. The other mutations, so I grabbed Predator after realizing I totally should have taken Predator into the Slumbering Sanctuary. I grabbed Predator, so that way all of my melee attacks will make me invisible for 2 seconds or 2.8 seconds or whatever the cap is. Predator is so busted. There is, if you're in a biome, it's really hard for me to make a use case to not take Predator if you are using a melee weapon. It's, that was sick. Nice little free throw there. It's hard for me to ever say, you know, don't take Predator. It's so good. You know, whenever you chain a kill, so if you're invisible and you kill another enemy, the counter resets. So you can just continually make it through the biome if you're killing enemies quick, and just nothing sees you. Everything does not see you, and nothing sees you. So it's super powerful. So I grab Predator, and then the third mutation, again, I was in my own head trying to figure out endgame stuff and what I wanted to do. So I grabbed Tainted Flask, not for the damage bonus, which it's pretty good at this point because I got, you know, 25 scrolls or whatever it is. But I took it so that way I could kill elites and then get a flask back. So at this scroll count, and I forget when it flips over, but at 25 scrolls, it takes 5 elites to refill a flask, and it also puts an extra elite in the level. So I've already killed like 2 or 3 or something. There's a couple of them. So I've already killed some, so just going to continue. I think I take a hit here. But I do end up refilling a flask. So there is, or there was at least 5 elites in here. So I'm pretty happy about that. That was worth, it's worth whatever the mutation reroll was at this point. 4,000, maybe 4,000 or 8,000, compared to trying to spend 20,000 for a single flask. So for me, it's worth it. You'll see so whenever you see a green door in the clock tower, it's a lore room. Generally, like the one I just looked at, some of them are pretty empty, but there are a couple that have things in them. Like you could have that room where there's like the passage in the wall with the small bag with the food. So you might see that in one of those doors. You could also see the room where all the Timekeeper's swords are hanging from the ceiling, or they're floating, I should say. And if you have that, there's always a necklace in the drawer at the end of that room. So I think they're worth poking your head in. It's worth poking your head in just to say what's up, because you might get yourself a better necklace or some extra food. But yeah, I think that's the only lore room that we go in here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then, yeah, so other than that, Clock Tower has been going fine. What is it, Murphy's Law? Because I took Masochist, I'm not taking any trap damage, which is really funny. But it's good. It's good to have just in case. Predator, as I was saying, Predator is doing some good work. And I'm just clearing things out. So, like I mentioned earlier, I have a specific way that I like to do biomes, or I like to clear biomes, I should say. And with Clock Tower, I like to go all the way up the very first tower that I'm in, completely clear it, and then start to make my way across the other parts of the level. So that's what I did there. We got our first and only good dual stat. So yeah, so you can see, when I went through that first tower, I cleared all the way up, and now I'm starting to go through the other 3. I think there's 3 additional teleporters that you'll be able to get to. Yeah, there it is. There's kill rhythms. That's our 3rd rare blueprint of the run. That's like crazy. 1 outfit and 2 items. Like, that's wild, especially at this point, because I have, however many runs are on this save, like 60 or 70 runs or whatever it is. It's way more uncommon for blueprints to drop. So, yeah, I was very pleased with that. Very pleased with that. But, yeah, as I was saying, there's like 3 other towers, I think, once you get through the first one. Yeah, so you can see there. So I'm trying to just clear things out. I generally will do the teleports bottom to top, so that way I have a little bit of organization, similar to how, like, when I do the Promenade, I like to clear the whole top floor and then go down between, or I should say go down all of the underground passageways afterwards. Just something that I like to do. Makes my brain happy. So, and then here, I think I buy firebrands here, right? I do. So I'm starting to think way ahead. I'm like, well, do I want to go ranged for Timekeeper? Do I want to use Alucard Sword and Shield? So, I'm spending money here just to kind of like give myself some more options as far as what I want to do. I generally prefer range builds for Timekeeper. So I was thinking, maybe I can get firebrands and throwing knives and, kind of pivot that way to the, what did I call it? Like, Blood and Steel, is that what I called it? Fire and Steel, I forget what I called that build in my beginner's video, beginner builds guide, but I was like, maybe I can pivot, but unfortunately I did not, and I just ended up spending a lot of money on firebrands when I'm already broke. I'm already broke. And you might see that and be like, oh, well, dude, you still have 17,000. You have 17,000 gold, like, that's not too bad. But at this point in the game, I'm used to, because I usually conserve gold and I sell a bunch of stuff and I keep things for longer than I should. I'm generally looking at like 40, 50,000 at this point. So I can feel the wallet getting a little bit tighter, but I'm not doing anything to prevent it. I'm not doing a damn thing to stop it. You'll see I reroll mutations, I think. 1, 2, 3. I think I reroll them 3 more times, right? Before this biome. 3 times, yeah, before the boss, before the next biome, and then before the final boss. So yeah, I reroll them 3 times. So that's, ironically, I'm sitting here talking about saving money, but that's an extra $24,000 just like right down the drain. It's gone. Done. I take disengage? Yeah, I do. So we're coming into Timekeeper. I decide to continue using the Alucard Sword and Shield. Good vibe. And like I said, I didn't grab any other ranged items after I got that Firebrands, which I shouldn't have bought in the first place. So I said, let's just do it up. So 1 BC or higher, Timekeeper starts with the aura like that with all the shurikens. And then she's pretty predictable at first. You know, during this first phase, she'll throw the shuriken like she just did. She'll come across the ground, but when she attacks you, she will only attack twice. In the second phase here, you'll notice that she'll attack 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So that's what changes. Pretty much the only thing I think that changes with her phase shift. It's that, and then the stuff that comes down from the ceiling. I'm pretty sure her fast multiple shuriken throw happens in both phases, but I will I don't know offhand, but I will get a bunch of video and I'm going to test a whole bunch of stuff before I do my Timekeeper guide, so that way I can be 100% on it. But there we go. So we got ourselves a flawless Timekeeper, and I'm like, all right, good, I can get extra money. Get extra money. And we got ourselves a legendary Pure Nail here. So I'm thinking about it and I'm like, all right, I did not take the Pure Nail like I was originally planning, so let me use it. So horizontal swipe. So Pure Nail is the only weapon, melee weapon in Dead Cells that you can use while you're moving. So it's really cool movement that way. And then if you hold up, it will swing up. And then if you jump and hold down, it will swing down. The upward and downward strikes will do criticals. It'll also bounce you back a little bit. So if you pogo, kind of like, I don't know if anybody ever played DuckTales on the NES or whatever, but if you pogo down, or if you just played Hollow Knight, how's that for a reference? You can pogo on enemies to get multiple hits. You can pogo off of spikes, so that way you don't take damage. So it's a really fun movement oriented kind of weapon. And like I said, it's the only one that doesn't freeze you in place as you swing it. So it's a lot of fun. A while ago, after that update came out, I played through Hollow Knight again, and I was like, I actually like it better in Dead Cells. The weapon feels more fun in Dead Cells. I know it's heresy, but that's, you know, at that point I was just like, yeah, Evil Empire did such a bang up job with the Pure Nail. In pretty much everything, but that weapon in particular is a lot of fun. So, all right, you may notice a different level here. So I decided, when I decided to go Timekeeper, I was like, well, let's just, you know, I went to death earlier. I've never beaten Dracula on the channel. So I was like, let's give it a whirl. Let's give it a shot. So we're in Dracula's castle here. So the layout is almost the same as it is if you were to come to the castle during the first part, right? So either after Outskirts or after, what did I mention? After Corrupted Prison or whatever it is. If you come to the castle here, what do you call it? Oh my God, what's the word? The design is not the right word, but basically the layout. The layout of the level is going to be very similar. The difference here is that you have to fight a mini boss. You have to fight Medusa in order to get the key that you need to leave. Medusa is one of those mini bosses that she either melts in like 2 seconds or your run is over. There's no middle ground with her. It's one of those things that it's kind of like a very condensed version of the Scarecrow. Like either the fight's going to go incredibly well, or it's like you're going to blink and then you're going to be smushed by a couple mushrooms and then you're done. But the level layout's the same. And the way that I like, again, you know, very particular, the way that I like to clear this out is I like to go in that first section, hit the teleporter, and then make my way all the way up the top left side. Whenever I go through an area where it connects to another part, I make sure that I activate the teleporter. Because if you're just running, like, and I'll call this out again when we're back on like the main floors or whatever. But if you're just running from side to side on the main floor and you don't go near the teleporter, like you see how that one just activated, the other ones don't activate as quickly. I think the reasoning for it is that they're usually they're not on like those platforms you can jump through. I think the teleporters might be on solid ground, so maybe they don't activate as soon as you go through, but I purposely go out of my way to do that. So here's something that can happen in Dracula's castle that sucks. I pop my head off there to see what kind of shop it is, and it's a weapon shop. I'm like, all right, great. I'm going to be able to redo my kit before I go to fight Dracula. I'm coming over here, and I'm pretty sure he spawns right here, so I'm like, awesome. Dracula is not going to spawn in the shop and take all the items because he just spawned there. So I forget whatever the timing is, but like usually it's like a however many seconds. And then I come in here and he spawns and everything's gone. And I'm just like, dude. I'm like, dude. So now I'm saying, all right, we got Alucard's sword. We have firebrands. Like, is anything else going to come up here? Anyways, yeah, so be careful of that. It's so annoying, and it only happens in the second iteration. So the first iteration of Dracula's castle earlier in the game, Dracula's not popping around, but in this one he is. So he's like super annoying. So I went up, as you can see, went all the way up the left side, and now I'm going to start to make my way across. So there's basically like, I think there's two main horizontal levels, and this is very much in the style of Symphony of the Night or other Igavanias that have this kind of layout, harmony, dissonance, Aria Sorrow, like whatever. The way that these rooms are put together with the steps and the multiple platforms and just sort of like this general architecture is very much an homage to Castlevania. So this room looks a little bit different. So you'll see here, right? So there's a teleporter up here. I have to jump up in order to get to it. If I were to just go right across those platforms under it, it would not have activated. So if you do that and you don't hit those platforms and you just keep going, when it comes time to make your way around the level or go back up to the other side, you have to go all the way across. So it's a bit of a pain. So it's worth taking that extra time to pop up and grab the teleporter. So we've seen a couple of Dracula's effects here. So he stole all my stuff out of the shop, number one. He has spawned a couple times and will have bats come out of his cloak, like Bat Volley. He spawned and then shot fire out of his coat, or his cape, not his coat. Yeah, out of his North Face jacket, he shot fire. No, so out of his cape, he shot some fire. And then the other thing he did was he turned the level upside down. This is another homage to Symphony of the Night, where you will get it's at the end of the game, there's a way where you can actually get into an inverted version of the whole castle, which is the same exact thing but upside down. So that's why they did that there. And now I'm going to hit this teleporter, and I'm going to keep going. So Medusa is in the bottom right. She's always in the very, very bottom right of the map. And because, like I mentioned, she's a tough lady to get through. I want to clear as much as I can and get as many scrolls as possible, so that way I can have a better chance of success. This here is the final boss from Castlevania 2 Simon's Quests for the NES. That's what that mask is from. And if you activate it the first time you're here, or the first time you activate it, I should say, you get an outfit. You get Simon's outfit from Castlevania 2, which is super sick. I think, as always, I'm sitting here and I'm talking about stuff. I don't even realize if I've actively discussed the Alucard shield. I've been parrying with it here and there, but I don't know if I've actually gone through and gotten the extra hits. So as I'm yapping, I'm gonna try to be more mindful of that, and we'll see. I'm pretty sure that I do take out a couple of those blue haunted armors with the Alucard shield, so I can showcase what it works. All right, so this is a nightmare, right? So it's not necessarily the hardest enemy in the game, but having 4 skeletons, including one that's an elite, throwing bones at you is not good. That's not good. If you've ever gotten hit by a Throwmaster's bone, you know it does like 1,000,000 hit points of damage. So it's very, very, very damaging if you get near it. Having four of them chucking bones at you is not comfortable. So generally, what I recommend for the skeletons, if possible, is to get underneath them. So that way, if you are directly underneath the skeleton on the platform, the bone's not going to hit you because it has that sort of arc. It's kind of like a free throw. It kind of comes in an arc. So if you're under it, it's not going to hit you. But if you're above it, there's a very good chance that you're going to end up taking some damage from it. So if you can, either here or in the castle outskirts, I think are the 2 levels where these guys are. If you can, try to get underneath them so that way you don't get stuck. Because they can, like I said, they'll throw things up in an angle, but then if you're jumping down through platforms and you don't see one, like you can take damage in the air. It's pretty tough. So keep an eye out for that. All right, and we're going to Medusa. Here we go. So this fight goes incredibly clean. No worries, but it could have gone worse. Yeah, you see, I don't think she has any damage cap, or maybe she has like a 30% damage cap or something. So you can just go to town. So I got lucky with that one. But I've been in here plenty of times with, you know, slower survival weapons or whatever it is, and then I don't make it. Just don't make it through. All right, so and then what are we looking at here? Yeah, so this is the last part. Yeah, so here's where I start to parry, and I'm like, oh, I really didn't showcase any of that stuff. So I'm gonna try to do some extra parries here, and you can see I just use the item as a melee, use the shield as a melee item. Let's see if I can get this guy to bite here. There you go. So that's what I was mentioning. So I parried the first hit, and then I was able to have enough time to drop down to the second level and then parry again, or I should say attack again. So. Kind of like Iron Staff, it's pretty cool to get a little bit of extra positioning. The timing feels off on the shield. It almost feels like the second hit comes off right as you're about to take damage. But for, you know, it doesn't happen, thankfully. But it's kind of a funky little shield, but I like it. I like it that it's brutality and survival. You know, opening things up a bit, since I feel like, you know, so many shields are survival only, and you know, it's nice to see another mixed one, so that way you can open up the build a bit more. And then where are we? Yeah, so we're at the end. We're almost done with this level. So I hope you've enjoyed the monotonous level layout of Dracula's castle. It is not exciting. It is not very exciting. One of the things that's great about playing the old Castlevania games, as these levels are like that, is like, you know, you're getting experience points as you kill enemies, you're like getting items, and like, I don't know, when you're just kind of going through like a normal level and like there's nothing really exciting happening, it can get a little bit monotonous to get through. But we basically got through it. We're almost done. I'm going in here. I think this is the food shop, right? Yep, so it's a food shop. So I took gastronomy as a mutation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to recycle the food on the map to get the extra damage bonus, because the second phase of Dracula is so tanky. It takes so much damage, so I'm trying to like beef up my damage as much as I can passively by recycling the food from gastronomy. And I think I didn't catch what the percentage is. I think it might be up to like 15 or 16% or something. So we're getting an extra 30% or whatever the math ends up being by recycling these two pieces of food. And 30% bonus is better than 0% bonus. So I figured let's do it, right? So I'm gonna recycle this, and then there's one piece of infected food somewhere on the map. And then I think after that it's right by that teleporter. After that I hit the road. And then, oh no, I make that pit stop at the food shop, and I'm faced with like an interesting conundrum, right? So I'm going to drop the 4,000 here. It's going to leave me with 29,566. I can either buy this potion charge to ensure that I can make it through. I can make it through the Dracula with 4 potions. I'm like, or I can re-roll, because I need 8,000 for my mutations. I can either re-roll my mutations and try to get better affixes, but I decide to grab the potion, because I say, you know what, I'll get the potion. I will re-roll my mutations once, which will leave me with just under like $1,500 or whatever it is. So I'll be able to afford the 8,000, and then that's it. There's nothing, there's nothing else to do at that point, right? So might as well go for broke at this point. So. And then what am I doing? Yeah, I'm going to grab the Sypha outfit. She is a character from Castlevania 3. The Castlevania DLC is just it's just loaded with references and outfits and characters and like so much from Castlevania's history. Like again, even though I don't love the levels as much, I think the intent and the respect that came out of the DLC is bar none. They did an excellent job. So since I got 2 turrets, I grabbed support, I grabbed Disengagement because I really want to beat Dracula and finish this run. And then the third mutation I grabbed was Recovery. So Recovery allows you 3 times as long to get your recovery back. So, you know, when you take a hit, there's like the little, I think it's the orange part of your health bar. As you attack enemies, it comes back up, like the rally effect in Bloodborne. But this gives me 3 times as much. So if I do take a huge hit, I'll be able to get some of that back. So here we go. So Dracula first phase. I love this fight. I love Dracula first phase. Again, this is basically like a very complicated version of what you would see for Dracula last boss. All of these attacks, except for like his grab, a lot of these attacks are pulled straight out of various games. Super cool. I feel like his hit points are respectable. They are a little bit low because there's 2 phases. But like I really enjoy that Dracula fight. I do not I do not enjoy the second Dracula fight. Yeah, out of all the bosses in the game, this is easily my least favorite. It's way too, my opinion, it's way too overtuned. But it looks cool though, right? Looks cool as hell. So after you beat first Dracula, you get dropped down here, and this is Dracula final form. So I'm not well equipped for this. So Alucard's sword, you know, he's generally pretty close, so I'm not getting the extra crits. I'm glad I have the Firebrand, so I can at least do a little bit of extra damage. But as you can see here, I have the extra 30% or 28% from Gastro. I have 34 scrolls. I got good stats, and the damage I'm doing for him is negligible, absolutely negligible. So compare this to what happened with Timekeeper, even, you know, compare it to the first phase of Dracula, like way too much health. So I've already wasted, like, how long has it been? A minute in this fight, and I got 60% of his health left. So, and about right around halfway through, 60% through, he's going to do this thing. You're going to climb up, and then he's going to slam down on you. There used to be a bug where he could slam you off the platform and you would just get soft locked, but thankfully that's been fixed. And yeah, so I'm sitting here just like watching those little ticks go by, and I'm just like, oh my god, please finish, please finish. Look at that, it's like nothing. Can you tell? I'm generally like really, I don't know if positive is the right word, but you know, I'm pretty optimistic, and you know, I try to find the good in a lot of things. The good news about this boss is that you're getting your money's worth, because it takes so damn long to kill him, right? But I did it. There we go. Final phase Dracula done. I know some folks have asked me to take the Dracula route, so I kind of did a little bit here, a little bit there in this route. But we got ourselves a 5 BC Dracula win. It was not a pretty boss fight. The first part was good. The second part was not pretty, but we got it done, right? And that is the end of the video. That is the end of the run. Thank you all so much for watching this. Hope you enjoyed it. It was great to experience some new stuff. And as always, thanks for watching, and good luck out there.